Alright, so let's keep going. So let's see this one over here. Now we are down a lot of material, right? Because black has a queen and two rooks, and we only have a queen and a knight. So we want to see, like, is there something we can do? Like, if we win material, it might not be good enough. So then you automatically want to start thinking, can I do something against the king? So do I have any checks? Well, the only check I have is queen g5, and it's actually checkmate. Once again, that's the number one reason why you should always look for checks. So queen g5 and we win the game. Alright, let's keep going. Alright, now in this one we are down a couple pawns. Do we have any checks? Well, we have to move queen takes f2. Then this king moves over here. Do we have any checks? Well, the first thing I notice is that this king is blocked in by its own pawns. It's stopping the escape of the king. So I immediately start thinking, do I have a back rank checkmate? Right, so first of all, do I have a check on the back rank? Well, I have queen e1, but that square is covered by the rook. But I actually have queen f1, and if it takes, my rook over here is covering that square, and it's checkmate once again because this king on h1 is blocked in by its own pawn. So let's keep going. So queen takes f2, queen f1, and rook takes f1 is checkmate. Alright, so let's keep going. So here, once again, you guys, we are down a lot of material. Black has a queen and two rooks, so we want to look for something that could be a checkmate. Right, so I have two checks. I have a check here and a check here. If the queen goes here, the king still has d2 squares. But after queen f6, the king is blocked in by its own pieces, so queen f6 is checkmate. Also, the queen here is covering these two squares and attacking the king. So we keep going. Alright, so let's see this one over here. Now, as you guys have seen before, we've seen a similar pattern. Our queen is under attack by this bishop. The bishop is protected by the knight. So we start thinking, what is it that we want to do? We want to take the bishop. Well, there's a problem because the knight will capture our queen. And then we start thinking, how do we get rid of the problem? Well, we first take this knight over here, remove the defender because it is with a check. Black is forced to recapture, and then we take this bishop over here, and we are up a piece. So we take, and we win the game. Alright, let's keep going. Knight f4. We are down a queen for a rook because both sides have two knights. So do we have any checks? Well, if knight d6, but that gets captured by the pawn. And I also have rook to d8, and it's once again a checkmate because this king is blocked in by its own pawn. So the more puzzles you do, you guys, the better you become at these. And the easier you will spot these during your games. So let's go rook d8 and we move on. Alright, good stuff. Let's see. So here, so let's see. So we are playing with black, and it's already becoming a little bit tricky. We have this pawn over here, we have this king over here. And as we see, white has a rook and a knight, and we have a rook and a couple pawns. So we would ideally like to push this pawn to the other end of the board, because then we pick up some of white's material, right? Because we can make a queen. Well, if we go g1 right away, white takes with the rook, and it's actually checkmate. So what we can do is that we see that this knight and this king are defending the g1 square. So we can actually remove this knight, and as soon as white takes, then we make a new queen. Alright, white is forced to take, then we take. And I guess the resulting position is actually a draw because white can move the king back. Move the king here. White is going to move his king to the queen side over here. And then go a5. We are forced to take. And white takes here and here. It's a little bit surprising that so early on we get a puzzle where we have to make a draw. So let's take a second here to see if we can do anything better, but that does not seem to be the case because we cannot protect this pawn somehow, and otherwise white is just going to win the game. So ideally you want to look for the win, but if there's no win, you have to make the draw, right? The draw is always still better than a loss. So we go rook takes f3, he's going to take, and then we go g1, we make a new queen, he takes, and we take. Alright, we keep going. See you later, Victor, thanks for hanging out. Alright, so here we see once again. So I would encourage you at the beginning of every puzzle to do a very quick material count. So that gives you a better idea of what to look for. Now here we see that white is a queen and two rooks and a knight. And when we do a material count, the pawns don't matter right away. Right? That might be when it becomes more advanced. And we see that we have a queen, a rook, and a knight. So we're down a full rook. So we have to look for something that could potentially be checkmate. Right? So let's look. Do we have any checks? Well, we have a check here, but that gives white a lot of options. He can block with the pawn or with the knight or move the king. But we can also go queen d2, and that gives white only one option, which is to move king f1. And once again, after some training, we see that this king is blocked in by its own pawns and the knight over here. So we start thinking, do we have a back rank checkmate? Well, we give a check over here, and if white takes, we take, and it's checkmate. So let's go queen to d2, goes here, queen to d1, and we take here with a checkmate. Alright, so let's keep going. Alright, so here, once again we start thinking, do we have any checks? Well, we have queen d1, which is check and mate, because this bishop is covering the square. And this is another pattern. We have not seen this one before, but since we see this one now, it will be more likely that we will spot it very quickly in our own game. So let's go queen e1 and move on. Okay, very good. Alright, so let's see. Next puzzle. Okay, so here, once again, black, let's do a quick material count. Black is a queen, 2 rooks, and 3 minor pieces, 2 bishops and a knight. And we have a queen, 2 rooks, and a bishop and a knight. So we're down a bishop. However, the first thing we should notice is that this king on h8 is kind of exposed. So do we have any checks? Right, we see that this bishop is over here, which we can use as an attacker. And we have to move queen to h5. The king has only one move, it has to move over. Do we have a follow-up? Right, so we keep looking for checks. Now we have bishop h7, but the king was over here, and our attack kind of comes to an end. So then we have this move over here, queen h7, because after king f8 we have a follow-up, which is queen h8, which is check and mate, because the king is blocked in by the queen over here, and this bishop is taking away this square. So we go queen h5, queen h7, and queen h8, checkmate. Alright, so we reach a rating of 700, so that concludes this part of the puzzle speedrun.